You're listening to Those Dram Yinzers with your hosts, John and Zach.
Hey everyone, I'm John.
And this is Jordan.
And welcome to a special edition of Those Dram Yinzers, where we're going to drink the final 4 days 22 through 25 of the Pittsburgh Whiskey Friends Whiskey Advent Calendar. And we're going to guess to see if we're right. I'm going to guess, but our guest might actually be way better at this than I am. Ooh. We have Jordan from Breaking Bourbons joining us here tonight. Thanks for stepping in.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah,
this should be really fun.
You did your homework, so I feel like, all right, let's just go. Let's just roll with this.
Let's do this.
So we'll just jump right in. 22. Now, I know you've listened to some of the recent ones we did, right? But there's a history with number 22 with this show. And our listeners can skip forward because they've heard it literally every year. So our very first time we did this Advent calendar for the group on the show.
Okay.
It was me, Zach, and his brother. We get to this last batch. We get to 22, and it's just peat heavy, like Islay Scotch, like just quintessential Islay Scotch, like notes, right? His brother and I absolutely love it. Zach literally like almost throws up.
You're really setting this one up good.
Right,
okay,
right.
Good.
Runs into the kitchen. Is like sucking on the water faucet, like gulping down like pretzel sticks, and he's just like, "What the heck was that?" It was Ardbeg 10. So ever since then, we joke about 22 and teasing Zach, and it was like one of his first kind of swigs into the Islay Scotch. So like we went, they hit him heavy with that one, you know.
Yep.
But every year since then, I'm taking a guess because Aaron's kind of been like wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But I think 22 might actually. Without opening it, it's probably going to be one because he's already been like, you know, they did one last year. It's just, you know, so it's been a staple. So no other hints for the entire thing of this, except I pretty much always expect this. Now, if it's not, Aaron joked with me and messed with me, and I'm mad at him. So,
all right,
there it is. He didn't lie.
Oh yeah,
yeah. I mean, that's the Band-Aid, the black marker, all of that, right?
Even people that don't drink Scotch, you know this is a Scotch.
Like
instantly.
First Scotch I ever had, first I ever had was a Jura, and it was way before I was like ever into whiskey. And my buddy, it was his birthday, and he was big into whiskey at the time, still is, but he was one of our first friends that were into it. And I was just like, now I'm just like, give it to me, I love it. Ooh, that's got it. I mean, obviously the classic Islay peat, you know, but it's almost kind of a little bit of like a fire.
Yeah.
Like a fire, you know, like if I were to lick the embers on my fire pit outside, like I kind of get a little bit of that.
Little charred fire spice there. Yep. It's interesting. It's complex. Mm-hmm. You know, you get a lot of those classic scents. You also I'm getting a tinge of sweetness on that back end. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm not normally a Scotch drinker, but even, you know, I've had my fair share of Scotches, but this is very enjoyable. I think for me, this is enjoyable. I don't know.
I'm with you on that. I do like that. It hits you up front with the peat.
Yeah.
You get that char in the middle, and you're right. It does kind of mellow out and gives a nice like sweetness on the end.
Yeah. I mean, the earthiness shows through like clearly, but this is, I don't know, that's enjoyable. Mm-hmm. That's very enjoyable.
I really like that char in the middle right there. That's just
for sure.
It sticks with you for a bit, right? And the finish. Yeah,
it's not a really long lingering finish, but it does its job. Mm-hmm. You know, it's also not it's medium length. It's it does taste a little bit higher proof than I would normally assume for. Well, it could be cask strength, I guess.
Yeah, they usually hit us with something pretty good. When it comes to this one.
Just this is, I mean, it's a really nice you know, the nose wasn't, when I first smelled it, classic sense, right? A lot of earthiness. Nothing that's blowing me away, but the palate's really nice, really pleasing. I mean, if that's not a nice winter pour, I don't know what is.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure I'm going to go with Islay Scotch on this one. I mean, this is a Haas for me, but I've always been a big fan of the peat. Other than that first time with my buddy's house before I was into whiskey, you know what I mean? But after I got into it, I was like, yeah, I'm down with it.
Yeah, I'd buy a bottle of this.
Mm-hmm. I want to go up to 90 proof, but I don't know like what a standard like range, you know what I mean, would be for this for a standard? Like you were saying, you felt like it's possibly cask strength.
I'd peg it a little bit higher. I'd peg it more like a cask strength Scotch.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this to me is more like mid 90s, like 96, 98, something like that. I could be way off on that, but yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I enjoy that.
You really set up 2022 or 22 to be this huge. I wasn't sure what to expect. Yeah, but this was very pleasing.
I mean, it was just so funny. Like that first time, it was just, oh my God. They still tease him about it to this day.
But I mean, if you don't really, and there's a lot, I'm predominantly focused on American whiskey, and there's so many European whiskeys and Asian whiskeys out there. But boy, Scotch for a lot of folks is a love it or hate it thing. And if you're not used to that initially, and you pour for someone, it's like pouring a cask strength bourbon for somebody who's really just started drinking bourbon, right? And they're like, "Ooh, yeah, okay." It's distinctive.
Very much so. I mean, gosh, we realized we didn't even realize when we started this show, like what we were walking into.
Yeah,
this was just let's have some fun with this. We both want to learn some more, so let's record along the way. And then we found the group. We found all the local places. We found the history in this area, and then just all the subsets of all the different types of whiskey. I mean, even in Scotch, like just the difference in the regions.
For
you
sure.
know what I mean?
Yep.
Where you got some of the heavier peated versions like this, like in the Islay, and then you get Speyside, and it's a lot more lighter. It's there, it's noticeable, but it's way less invasive for some people who are, you know what I mean? So it's just really like these misconceptions we've found that we've had ourselves starting with, before starting this, and just fun exploring those.
Yeah. It's and then as you expand each region, right? You go to other parts of the UK. You start looking. I heard you guys had the Welsh whiskey on here, which I've had before. Super light, right? That's totally different, right?
Yeah,
almost like a Irish tasting, but even lighter sometimes. And it's it's as you explore and define your palate and start finding out those different areas and histories and just the little bit of nuances. I mean, even I heard you talk a lot about single malts and your lack of exposure to them, right? So, which is hopefully something will change in the near future. But, American single malt, same deal. It's region specific across the country, such variations, same exact thing, and it's fun to explore.
Those ones, I'm excited to see where those the American single malts kind of go.
Yeah, I think it's poised. The TDB is going to. They're going to improve the category next year. I was talking to the CEO of Westward Whiskey, and they've been pushing really hard with a bunch of other folks to finalize that. And I think once that official category and rule sets put in place, we're about to see a lot more expansion.
We had their stuff at the Pittsburgh Whiskey Festival at the Rivers.
Yeah.
Because they had a rep there and everything. They were right around the corner from our table. And I was just like, wow. Like, this was great. I loved all three options they gave us. I think it was their standard, their stout, and the Pinot
Noir, yeah.
And she even had a small flask bottle of a single barrel of the stout finish that she gave us to try. Oh my gosh, I was like, "You're in PA now, right?" And they're like, "Yeah." I was like, "All right." She gave me her card and all the stuff. She's like, "Let's connect. Let's do a thing." So
their cask strength just won one of our whiskeys of the year. So if you haven't checked it out, definitely a brand worth seeking out.
Yeah, I saw you just just posted about the whiskey of the year. I mean, if you had to guess, and this is again, this is a teaser episode. You're going to be back.
I'll be back. We'll do
once
a full
the holidays
dive.
are
We'll
over.
do a full dive in.
Full dive, probably multi-part episode. We'll see what happens. But I mean, how many whiskeys do you guys think you go through to be able to come up with the whiskey of the year?
Well, each year we probably end up tasting a little over 400 to 500 whiskeys. Some years a little more. Usually that's the baseline. So it's a lot. And I'm not saying, there's a big difference between stuff that makes the cut for even discussion, stuff that doesn't, right? So, at the end of the day, when we get to the end of the year, there's maybe 75 that are in the mix that are worth even talking about. Then it starts getting cut down from there to get to our top 20.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I was thinking about it when I saw the post the other day. I was like, how many are we going through?
I mean, we just had 25 new ones coming to the office in the last 2 weeks. So it's just constantly flowing in.
All right. So let's move on to 23. go from there. I feel like I really need to like palate cleanse after that.
I was just thinking the same thing. I'm like, wow, that's an interesting one to start with.
Right. And he set me on this path too. Like he knows what he's doing. Okay, well that's a different nose than the previous one.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you go first. I usually go first, but I'm gonna let you go first.
Getting a more traditional American whiskey flavor profile on this. Mm-hmm. Little vanilla, light oak, little spice, little peppercorn spice. I don't know. What are you picking up?
Kind of the same thing. So, first initial thing I had is this is very much like a standard, like you said, a standard American whiskey.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even like standard bourbon because you got a lot more of those sweeter notes that came through than some of the spicier ones. But what do you think? You know, because you guys are reviewing like crazy. What is your trick to be able to like get better at pulling out these notes?
Practice makes perfect, right?
Okay.
I think that's practice makes perfect. I think all three of us too. We do a lot of cooking, right? So we're exposed to a ton of different spices, which plays into it. We'll do, we have there's nosing kits out there. We've created our own internal nosing kits that we use.
Gotcha.
And it's like anything, right? The more you do it, the more you tune in and hone into your senses, and honestly, it's just practice.
Yeah. Yeah, when we first, God, we've been using your site since the beginning.
Oh, we appreciate that.
Especially when we're like, I think I know what I'm getting. Let's see what they say. You know what I mean? And we'll go on there and we'll cheat a little bit and be like, oh, okay, that's what that is.
Whatever you get, you get, right? There's no right or wrong when it comes to tasting whiskey, which is really good. But we do, I think, as I was coming over here, I was thinking about it. We try and standardize not only the environment, but how we set up, right? So before I do any review, I have the same piece of dark chocolate that I eat.
Interesting.
Right? And I know if I'm tasting it, I know exactly what that should taste like, right? Because I've had it a million times now. So if it tastes off, I'm like, yeah, my palate's a little off from what it normally is, right? So I try and like equalize it a little bit.
Gotcha.
And I think that's another thing too. I know Blake Reaver, he owns Sealbox, he runs Bourboner. He eats a cheese stick, right?
Oh,
and
nice.
it's the same deal. He's like, I know exactly what this cheese stick should taste like. If it doesn't taste this way, and then rinse out your mouth and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't taste this way, I know my palate's off.
Gotcha.
I either ate something weird, or maybe I smoked a cigar the night before, stuff like that. But I think by doing that too, you start honing in on like, okay, I know what my palate's on or what's off, and I'm probably going to be in tune of finding stuff.
Yeah, Zach and I made the mistake of having buffalo wings before one of the tapings of this.
I just listened to that episode, and I was laughing when you said that.
So a little sweet up front. Mm-hmm. Definitely more of a spice.
Yeah.
Initially after that. More spice than I got on the nose.
I get a little bit of youthfulness in that palate at that midpoint. A little bit of youthful green.
Really nice. Like there's a couple different spices happening there. Like I definitely feel like I'm pulling some like baking spices.
Yeah.
Out of there as well.
Yep. I got a lot of peppercorn spice. Not like heavy black, more like a green or a white peppercorn mix. Nice sweetness. Definitely more the heat and spice on the finish.
Yeah.
A little bit of dried oak.
Yeah, I get it. Dried oak, but also it dries my mouth out a little bit.
Yeah,
too.
no, it's definitely, yeah.
I think, I don't want to say the same proof again, but to me, this feels like it's under 100. So,
yeah, I'd agree. I'd say this is probably 90, 94 around that if I had to take a guess. It's definitely not over 100.
Definitely American. See, I don't know. Normally, I'm just rattling this off, but I have you here, and I feel like I have.
Oh boy, if you're asking me to pick out the wind was blowing at 20 miles an hour the day that we wrote this.
I don't know. I got a lot of initial, like, more like bourbon notes with this, and my problem I always have is proof and the spice always trip me up. Pardon me. Whichever, you know what I mean. Which one's which sometimes. So I always like, oh, this is spicy.
But I'm not getting like super. I mean, usually the nose is right.
Yeah.
You get that ethanol undertone that'll bump stuff up if it's really bad. But I'm not really getting that on the nose. It's it reminds me a little bit of maybe a craft distillery, not good, bad, and different, just more like that undertone. But I could be way off.
No, there's some familiarity with this.
Yeah.
I'm not drinking 400 to 500 whiskeys a year, so
I didn't say 400 to 500 good whiskeys. Just big difference.
Yeah. I don't know. My initial thing was like, this really tastes like, maybe just because that's what I was using as, when I was editing before you got here. But this really gives me like a maker's almost like, kind of note with that. I think I'm going to stick with bourbon.
Oh, yeah. No, definitely bourbon.
I'm going to put a possible wheater. Maybe. We'll see. Again, I don't care if I'm wrong. Because I'm still having fun.
That's all that counts.
Still very thankful. I'm sure I'll thank him again at the end, but very thankful for the group and for Aaron for allowing us to have. They actually gave us 2 this year.
That's awesome.
Normally, Zach and I have to fight over 1 ounce a piece, so.
Yeah, super generous. This is great. I think anyone who gets one of these calendars really, super fun time.
I mean, there's so much we were talking before, so much goes into that on the back end for them to get everything ready. And, even like picking out, like, I think you heard, because you were listening to the other ones, but like the QR code is like 25 different songs on YouTube. You know what I mean? So like there's thought put in. Last year there was a whole underlining like story from start to finish. So there's a ton of work put into this and very appreciative. And
all right, so what would you rate this?
Oh, I give it a pass.
Okay.
I like this.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it's very approachable.
Okay.
Yeah. I like to fill my bar with a lot of approachable whiskeys because, I have friends and stuff that come over that are already whiskey fans and we try all the crazy stuff and everything, but I like bringing more people into the fold. So I like to have a lot of intro and starter or, those more approachable whiskeys. Yeah. For those people like we were saying earlier, like, oh, they think Scott's like, oh, but have you had this kind yet? You know what I mean? And kind of ease them into it a little bit. So I give this a pass.
All right. For me, it's more of a downtown, not because I don't like it. It just, I also like it to be a little bit different from what I'm tasting. So it's not, and again, this goes back to currently like what you're in the mood for, what you're drinking, stuff like that, right? Not bad. I'd probably buy at a bar before buying a bottle, but I wouldn't throw it away.
All right, 24.
All right.
Only got 4 tonight, so we're going to roll right through this. Allows for a little bit of tangents.
There you go.
I feel like we've crossed the ocean again.
Well, these are all, let me tell you, these are ping-ponging all over the place. Wow.
Like, I'm getting peat, briny undertones of like a typical like space side, but there's also a sweetness to it. It's a little on the lighter side, but
drinks on the lighter side.
It's like burnt cheese in the middle there.
I think at this point in the show, my palate's going, what the hell's going on between these three?
Yeah, that's the other part too is, man, we bounce all over the place. One year, we had a little bit of grouping. Yeah. So back when it was just the admins doing it years ago, they each picked 4 different ones to put in. Yep. And, or 5 different ones. No, 4 it was, sorry. 4 different ones. And so based on what we knew about the said person, we knew like Alex was going to give us something with Pete. Aaron was probably, Aaron ended up giving us something from like, all 4 were from Wild Turkey. He did a whole flight of Wild Turkey stuff. Bobby is all about high proof. So all of his stuff was like cast strength, like, like Elijah Craig barrel proof, kind of stuff. So we had a little bit of like, okay, I know what I'm getting into. So, and it's all going to be kind of the same, Yeah. And then they're like, yeah, we're not doing that again. We're just going to bounce you all over the place. I was like, all right, thanks. But appreciate this.
So we're also, right, in those listening, we're drinking 4 days worth in 30 minutes, right? If you're just sitting down night by night doing this, though, that's a great way to explore this region and this whiskey and really take it in and
right.
And think about it, right? I mean, you're not going to punch your palate left and right with this, which is, I don't know, the concept's just, I always appreciate when they put out this calendar. And
yeah, I mean, I said that with my buddy, I think it was my buddy Steve, the first episode we did of this one. And I said, I'd be curious I've never done this day to
by day.
Every time we've done it, it's always been, you know what I mean? And so I said, I'm almost kind of jealous for people to start over. You know what I mean? Like this is being like affected by what we had previously, and the next one's going to be affected by the 3 prior to it, you know?
I mean, next year what you guys need to do is get to one of you does the episodes, one does it day by day and talk about your experiences,
oh, that's
right?
a good idea. Yeah. That could work. So, I get like this. I don't know why that's what came to me, but a burnt cheese note right in the middle. Very light.
Incredibly light.
There is some of that, like peat smokiness.
Yeah.
Very, very faint. Almost makes me feel like faint as in like something finished in a Scotch barrel or something.
Yeah.
I don't think that's what this is. I think we are across the pond here, but that's how light that is.
So, I mean, it reminds me of a Jameson variant almost. It's just right when I think like this is the classic.
Oh yeah.
And that's kind of what's drawing me. But I say in that sense, like that's a super light whiskey to me, right? I can pour a glass and I'm like, oh, this is a light whiskey in all regards.
Little bit of pepper on that end, that finish. No crazy hug. Sticks to you.
I'm not getting any peaks and valleys of any flavor. I mean, it's just everything's subtle, right? Everything's subtle.
And it's not even like some of these ones we've had literally look like water.
Yeah.
And this one's not, it's not like that. I mean, it's a little darker, not as dark as some of these other ones we've had, but.
I mean, I get a little bit of, I do get some grain, not youthful grain, just grain, right? Mm-hmm. Oak, but more muted. Mm-hmm. Touch of sweetness on the finish. Vanilla at the midpoint. It's enjoyable.
Yeah.
It's hard to find anything to really love, but it's also hard to find anything to really hate. Right.
I mean, as I was just saying, I like to have a lot of...
It just kind of exists.
I like to have a lot of, intro approachable ones. And that's what I get out of this. You said, it's nothing crazy. It's all just kind of, it's there. But I think because of that, and we've had some other ones where I've like, I'm going to put this at a downtown just because it is kind of like...
I'm right there with you.
I want to know more about this one before I fully say whatever.
This would be a bottle that if I bought, and just knowing myself, it would get used, and I'd pour a drink, but it'd probably be like once a year, right? I'm like, all right, I'm going to pour this my once a year pour. 20 years later, I'm still killing off the bottle, right? So like, yeah. I mean, it's fine. It's a downtown for me.
Mm-hmm. Or you have the one family member that comes over and that's like their bottle.
Exactly, right? And that's exactly it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like, for instance, my dad is not a whiskey fan. He will try anything I give him.
Sure.
He does not like whiskey, but he tries it for me. But I keep a bottle of Screwball here because that is one he got.
That's what people like.
He consistently has, he's a big gin fan.
Yep.
But he's consistently has a bottle of Screwball, at least one or two, at his house. So that's, I like it too, but that is there for Dad.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I totally hear you. Now, what would you say the proof is on this?
I dropped somewhere. I went down to 85.
Yeah, I had 80, 84 for my rating.
Yeah. I wasn't getting anything crazy. And like I said, with that little pepper and dryness at the end, I felt like it wasn't like all the way down to 80. So I haven't checked, but I think I've done better with proof than I have with everything else.
So this would be your Christmas Day pour, right?
Number 25.
Number
Yep.
25.
Oh, wow.
Huh.
So that nose is crazy weird.
Yeah.
I can't.
It reminds me of something I just had the other day.
Yeah. There's a familiarity with that sweetness that's coming off that like.
I got like a little bit of apple juice sweetness, like undertone, but not like a main. Really nice palate. Mm-hmm. Really nice palate.
I like the ease of that palate, but just like 24, I'm not getting anything like, the nose is much heavier than the palate is.
Yeah, and the finish is almost like an afterthought on this one for me. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to figure out what region of the world this is coming from.
Yeah, like I originally thought on the nose this was something finished because it had such a random note to it. But then after the palate, I'm like, no, because that would have came through too. And like, what in the world's he giving us?
The first three we tasted were more distinctive in nature, right? Mm-hmm. This one's more of a.
I could get in trouble with drinking this.
Yeah, this is hell's if I know. It's tasty.
Yeah,
this is super. This is a very enjoyable pour. It doesn't really lean one way or the other.
Yeah, I literally cannot pinpoint where this is from.
I'm going to say this. I'll take a wild guess and say this isn't an American whiskey, but that's exactly what that is. That's a guess, right?
Yeah, there are notes there that make me think that, but then the ease of the palate just really makes me think it's something not American.
Yeah. Yep. 100%.
And I think that's all I'm literally going to say. Not American, because
That's all I got.
you threw me off, Aaron, on this last one.
It's a good Christmas Day pour, though. People enjoy this one.
Oh, yeah. Last year, I thought on the 25th, he did an infinity blend
Oh, nice.
of everything because it had all kind of crazy notes. I mean, up and down the board.
Yeah.
You know, every sip was something different you were picking out. I was like, he blended these, didn't he? I'm trying to do the math in my head of like, wait, would he have had enough to do that? You know? And here it was, I never pronounced Lefroy's, some of their special ones. But it was like the Cardo's.
Okay.
It was one of the like wine cask. I think it was a wine cask finish last year. And it was that one. And it was super dark, super flavorful, which made me think that like all the characteristics you don't, typically give to a Scotch.
Yep.
But it had Scotch undertones. So I was just like, that's what maybe I was like, you blended this, didn't you? He goes, no, but that's a really good idea. Well, these were four very all interesting and all over the place.
So what would you do? Would you buy that? I'd actually buy a bottle of this.
I said Haas because I'm so confused.
Yeah,
and I want to watch other people be confused.
Yep, exactly.
Interesting. All right. Well, that's that.
What would you say the proof is on this one?
I said 80.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think this is right where it's but like the low as it can be.
Yeah, it's I had it right there with you. 80, 82. It's not going to be high at all. Super sippable. Super dangerous.
Very much so. Well, any final thoughts on these?
It's been 4 in a row. I'll tell you what. Doing this calendar 4 in a row at the very end. A whirlwind of flavors punching my mouth right now. But I think the calendar ended on 4 really interesting ones, really strong ones. Nothing I wouldn't want to drink either by buying a bottle or going to bar someplace. Good. This is a super fun experience. I think people who are having the calendar at home are really going to enjoy it. Yeah. And I think hopefully more people get excited about potentially getting a calendar for next year because what a fun experience to work your way through. Right.
It's just the last 4 here and the way it started, the first 5 we had really goes to show like the amount of thought process that goes into this because the first ones were like really good intros into everything and getting your like palate ready for what was coming. And these 4, like you said, were just like just like bang, 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 all over the place. Yeah. And they really think these through. And I'm going to say it again in the reveal, but Aaron, moderators, admins, thank you for letting us have 2 this year. And not have to fight over 1 ounce. And I can have some left over for, after, we're all done. Jordan, thanks for stepping in again.
Hey, yeah, thanks for having me. This has been super fun.
And like we said, this is a teaser, right? Because once we get back from the holidays and all the craziness, we're going to set up a date and we're going to do a full-on Jordan and Breaking Bourbon episode.
Let's do it.
Yeah, I'm looking. I have lots of questions that I'll probably ask you after we shut the mics off, but we'll re-ask you.
I'll answer them again.
But, all right, yeah. Well, thank you. Folks, I guess the only other thing I can say is see yous at the review.